Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be discussing all things supplements for fertility. A little while back, I posted a video all about certain foods that you could eat to support fertility, and so many of you guys were interested in seeing a part 2 where I discuss actual supplements you can take. So that's what we're going to be covering in today's video. If you guys are new, welcome to my channel. My name is Becca. I'm a registered dietitian, so I'm very passionate about nutrition. I'm also a mom to 3 little ones. So fertility and trying to conceive and pregnancy and all of that has been a big part of my life these last 4 or 5 years. So I totally understand what it's like to be in that position. And in this video, we're going to talk about supplements for fertility, obviously. And I'll be honest, I was a little bit hesitant to make this video just because, well, I know that fertility is, it can be a difficult subject, and there is so much that goes into your fertility and different factors that may impact what's going on with your fertility. And when it comes to supplements, for fertility, there are so many out there. And I know what it's like, to want to have a baby, to be trying to conceive and not having success, and you kind of are willing and feel desperate to literally try or buy anything. And the supplement industry is a big one, and it's a big moneymaker. And I just don't want, women to ever feel like taken advantage of in this way, or, maybe buy something that has all these amazing claims. So in this video, we're going to be strictly talking about nutrition and supplementing certain nutrients. There's a lot of fertility supplements out there, especially different herbs and things like that, but that is not my wheelhouse, but nutrition is. So that is what we're going to focus on today. So first and foremost, I want you to always remember and keep in mind that diet always comes first. Food should always come first, and then supplements should be used quite literally as a supplement to an already well-rounded, nutrient-dense, balanced diet. I talk so much about nutrition here on my channel, and specifically intuitive eating, so that you can eat well in a way that is balanced and actually sustainable and not stressful. But it all comes back to food always. I want you to focus on, getting lots of nutrient-dense foods in your diet. If you're in this, that's always applicable, but especially when it comes to fertility, always focus on that first, and then your supplements are kind of the icing on the cake. The idea of preconception nutrition feels like it's kind of like a newer focus, but really this is something traditionally, if you go back to our ancestors, they were very smart and very wise about feeding women in their childbearing years. If they were trying to have babies, if they were pregnant, they knew to feed them certain foods to really nourish them specifically for that, for that cause, let's say. So that's not necessarily a new concept, but it's something that's really reemerged in the last maybe, decade or so, because it is super important to prep your body for pregnancy, to be very well nourished going into pregnancy. It's not just about eating well and, taking a prenatal while you're pregnant. There is kind of this, let's say extra trimester before, where you're really prepping your body and nourishing your body. For both eggs and sperm, it takes about 3 months to create new ones, let's just say. So you have kind of this 3-month period before getting pregnant where you can really change the quality of the eggs and the sperm if there is room for improvement via diet and supplementation and other lifestyle factors. So let's talk about the supplement piece specifically. So I have a few listed out here that I'm going to kind of walk you guys through. And these supplements are just kind of baseline good supplements to consider if you are, trying to conceive or planning on trying to conceive. And if this is an area where you're struggling with, I would definitely, there are a lot more specialized supplements that you could bring into play. But in this video, I'm going to be focusing more on general things. And of course, it's always a good idea to run any new supplement that you want to take by your doctor or whatever provider you're working with to see that if it's going to be the right fit for you. Hey guys, I just wanted to take a quick second to tell you about my nutrition and intuitive eating program, Mindful Eating Made Simple. This program is all of my knowledge, education, tips, expertise, experience, all in one place, where I teach you everything you need to know about not just nutrition, but also how to eat in a way that is healthy and balanced for the lifelong. I am a firm believer that you need to be equipped both with robust nutrition knowledge that makes sense, that can be applied to your daily life, but also understanding how to eat intuitively, because I believe that that is the only way to enjoy eating, but not go overboard and be able to maintain health and vitality through your lifetime. So if you are just done with being on a cycle of dieting and trying this diet and that diet and failing and trying again and all of that nonsense, or maybe you're just trying to eat healthy, but you find nutrition confusing or you find it stressful and you feel like you kind of end up turning it into a diet in itself and you just can't do it in a way that is relaxed and sustainable and balanced, then this program is for you. I will personally be here to hold your hand and walk you through as you build on this new knowledge and make these changes. My mission is to help women feel confident with healthy eating, but without the complex. And that is exactly what I do in this program. So I will leave a link down below if you are ready to join me inside the program. And maybe you're still on the fence. And if that's the case, I would highly recommend taking my free Mindful Eating Mindset Masterclass, where you are going to start to learn how to break down that diet mentality, how to eat healthy for the long term in a way that's balanced and sustainable, and also avoid some of the most common mistakes people make when it comes to healthy eating. If this sounds like something you are needing in your life, I so hope to see you inside the program. I want to help you make the changes that are actually going to give you your freedom back, give you your life back, and allow you to eat in a way that has both enjoyment but nourishment at the same time. Okay, let's start with the very first one, and that is a quality prenatal. So taking a prenatal isn't necessarily going to boost your fertility chances, like crazy by any means. However, it is going to help, target any potential micronutrient deficiencies that you have. And also, if you are trying to conceive, you absolutely want to be on a prenatal before you conceive. That is the definitely the goal, because you don't find out that you're pregnant until after, the baby's already been developing for, a week or two. And there's some key things that happen in those very, very early days, specifically with folate and neural tube defects, that, happen before you even know that you're pregnant most of the time. So you definitely want to be on a quality prenatal. So this is basically going to be like a multivitamin, but it's geared a little bit more towards pregnancy because it's going to have higher, nutrient levels of certain nutrients, because when you're pregnant, oftentimes you have a higher demand for certain nutrients, and then also might just have extra things added in there that might be good for pregnancy depending on the supplement that you're looking at. So like a multivitamin, it's going to have, like full spectrum, all of the most basic vitamins and minerals, but it's also, going to include some of those really key ones for pregnancy, like folate, which we're going to talk more about in a second, vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium, zinc, B12, choline. These are all good, are all really key nutrients when it comes to conception and pregnancy, and those are all going to be found in your prenatal. There are a lot of different prenatals to choose from out on the market. I'll just tell you the one that I take, that I have been taking now for a few years, and I'll link it down below. It's called the Optimal, Seeking Health Optimal Prenatal, and it is very, very robust. It has basically everything you could ever need in a prenatal in that supplement. They also have like a more scaled down version that doesn't have all the bells and whistles, let's say, but it is a little bit more affordable and it's still very high quality. And that's called, I think it's like Optimal Basics. I'll link everything down below. But so that's what I specifically take. And I started taking that after I had my miscarriage a few years back. This really kind of spawned me to do a lot of research when it came to this and to really switch up what I was taking, and that is the prenatal that I landed on and have been taking ever since. So it's very high quality. It's got everything in there that you need, except it does not contain iron, and this is very important to point out because when you are pregnant, you have a higher demand for iron. It's very important. You are creating a whole new human that has its own circulatory system, that has a lot of red blood cells and a lot of demand for iron, and a lot of women become iron deficient or even anemic while pregnant, and so it's super important that you're getting in enough iron. Now, of course, if you're eating a lot of iron-rich foods, that's definitely going to help, but I know for me, I still need to supplement iron. That's not going to be true for everyone, and I'm going to talk about in a second what I use to supplement iron. But another thing I wanted to point out about this specific supplement is that it contains the active form of folate. It does not contain folic acid, and this is super important, so listen up. Folic acid is the synthetic form of folate. It's man-made, it does not occur in nature, and it actually can be very problematic. Now, folic, this information has started to get out there more. Years ago, I posted like my first ever pregnancy supplements video, and I've been preaching this gospel for years now, but this is becoming more of like an understood topic. But so many doctors still recommend, and even dietitians, take folic acid. Make sure that your prenatal has folic acid. But I'm here to tell you that you do not want folic acid, okay? You want the active form of folate. So what happens when you consume folic acid, which is inactive? Since it's not the active form, your body can't actually use it right away. It has to go through a fairly arduous, like 5-step process in order to take it from the folic acid to what's called L-methylfolate, and this is the active form that your body can actually use to carry out the different processes it's going to carry out that require folate. Now, this process is rather intense. It's 5 steps, but there is a lot going on, and in order for this process to go off without a hitch, you need to have fully functioning genes, you need to have fully functioning enzymes, you need to have all of the all the required cofactors in order for this process to go smoothly and actually carry out what it's supposed to carry out, which is making active folate. Now, here's just one example, and it's one of the more common examples of how this can get messed up. So there is an enzyme required at one point in this process called MTHFR, and probably, like, it's estimated around 50% of people have a gene variant with MTHFR. You can have like a homo or a hetero. It's a kind of a complicated thing, but most people have some kind of variant, meaning the gene, or meaning that enzyme is not going to work fully properly. It might not work at all. It might just be not as optimal. It depends on the situation. But if you do not have like a fully functioning or even optimal functioning of your MTHFR enzyme, this process is not going to be able to be carried out, at least not to its full potential. So what's going to happen is you're going to have all this folic acid that you're taking in, you're not going to be able to convert all of it to folate. So even though you're taking in folic acid, you might actually end up with what's called a functional folate deficiency, because you're not actually able to use enough of that folic acid because it's not active and you cannot convert it. So not only are you potentially low now on folate, but there's also a lot of negative side effects that comes along with this buildup of folic acid that literally can't be used in any other way because it's inactive and we can't get it to the active form. There can be a lot of negative side effects with that buildup as well. So it is of my opinion that avoiding folic acid is definitely the way to go, and taking a supplement that has the active form of folate. You'll see it listed as like 5-methyltetrahydrofolate on the label typically. That is what you want to be taking. You want to just skip out on any potential issues that could happen in that 5-step process, skip out on, potential buildup of folic acid in your body, and just basically go straight to the source, get the real active form, so when you're consuming it, it can just be used right away, and we don't need to be utilizing that process that may not be carried out the way that it's supposed to. And just a little note here, has nothing to do with supplementation, but many grain-based foods here in the US are fortified with folic acid. In the late 90s, in a response to a rise in or just a high-ish rate of neural tube defects, they decided to fortify our food with B vitamins, including folic acid. So if you're consuming a lot of fortified grain-based foods like breads and cereals and things like rolls, things like that, bagels, the list goes on, things just keep popping in my head, but you might also be consuming a lot of folic acid this way. So it's just something to keep an eye on because, again, of those potential negative side effects of a buildup in the body. Woo! Okay, so that's the prenatal conversation. It's definitely a big one. Look for a high quality one, the best that you can find within your budget. The one that I use is the one that I recommend across the board. Okay, so the next supplement I want to talk about is a liver and or beef organs supplement. So a little bit earlier in this video, I alluded to the fact that our ancestors were very cognizant of really nourishing women when they're in their childbearing years, when they're pregnant and having babies. And one of the things that they really focused on, as far as nutrition goes at this part of the life cycle, is actually consuming organ meats. So organ meats Livers specifically are incredibly nutrient dense, and unfortunately, you know, the consumption of these foods, at least here in the US, has all but fallen out of our typical diet because they're not as, you know, palatable, and they may be hard to stomach, but they are incredibly nutrient dense. So one of the best foods that you can consume for fertility is actually like beef liver or chicken liver. And the reason for this is it's actually the same, it works the same in animals as it does in humans. Your liver is your main source of storage for all of your like back stores of vitamins and minerals, except for the bones. That's where most of your calcium resides. But when you're consuming the liver of let's say a cow, you are also getting all of their nutrient stores. So a lot of people like to refer to, you know, consuming like beef liver as like nature's multivitamin because it is just so incredibly nutrient rich and nutrient dense. So a couple that I recommend if you're just looking for a straight liver supplement, I really like the one from Radiant Life. I'll link that down below. My preferred one is actually the Ancestral supplements. They have a beef organ supplement that is not just liver. It also has other beef organs in there. So it's very concentrated, let's say. And so this is what I use as like a all-around fertility support supplement, but it's also what I take for iron. Extra iron is stored in the liver, so liver is going to be a good source of iron. So that is what I personally take to add in some extra supplementation of iron, since the optimal prenatal does not contain it. So if you're not down with eating liver, maybe that does not sound good to you, which I completely understand, you can supplement it, and that would be the next best thing. And just as like a personal anecdotal story, after I miscarried, this is something that I added into my routine, and I have gotten, you know, pregnant faster with my subsequent two after my miscarriage than I did with my first. And I also have not miscarried since then. So, I mean, there are so many factors that go into that. Liver is not like some magical fertility cure by any means, but again, just my own experience, and it's a supplement that I really stand behind. Okay, the next one is coenzyme Q10, also known as CoQ10, and this has antioxidant properties. So it's going to help like lower or combat, let's say, oxidative stress in the body. And oxidative stress or free radicals that are, you know, going around your body and scavenging, they actually cause cellular damage. And we want to make sure that we're avoiding cellular damage, especially to those egg cells or sperm cells, as much as possible. CoQ10 is actually stored in the mitochondria of your cells, which is considered like the powerhouse of your cells, and it's used for energy or required for energy production. And when it comes to cells that are rapidly dividing, like your egg cells, this is something that is of like high importance. Supplementing with CoQ10 has been shown in studies to possibly help with egg quality, but also ovarian reserve. And it's something that declines as we age. So especially if you are over 35 and you are trying to conceive, this might definitely be a supplement that you would want to consider. And for all of the men out there, this is also a supplement that you can take to help with sperm concentration and also possibly improve sperm motility. The next one is vitamin D. So vitamin D is definitely going to be in whatever prenatal you're taking. However, I wanted to mention it because most of the time you might definitely want to at least consider supplementing on top of vitamin D based on what your levels are. Fertility aside, vitamin D is important for so many functions in the body: your muscular function, your immune system, inflammation, bone development, and it's also necessary for cell production in your ovaries. But it's estimated that about 50% or so of people actually have insufficient vitamin D levels. And this is for, you know, many reasons attributed to our modern lifestyle. So one, we are outside so much less. We spend much more time inside. We typically wear sunscreen when we're outside, which completely blocks, you know, your ability to synthesize vitamin D in the skin, because you can make it from sun rays. Also pollution and like smog that blocks UV rays coming down. These are all reasons that we just don't get as much vitamin D from the sun as our ancestors did. So we tend to be on the lower side. Now the good news is you can very easily get your vitamin D levels tested to find out where you fall. And if you are are in, you know, the insufficient or maybe just like suboptimal categories, then it's definitely worth considering supplementing even more vitamin D on top of taking like a prenatal or multivitamin or something like that. When it comes to fertility specifically, there is this correlation in research of sufficient levels of vitamin D and higher levels of pregnancy and live birth rates. We haven't been able to tease out like exactly what that cause is, but there's definitely this very strong correlation. And there's also a correlation between insufficient levels of vitamin D and higher rates of miscarriage or pregnancy loss in the first trimester. So this is definitely a nutrient to definitely consider and focus on, and make sure that your your levels are optimal, not just for fertility, but for your functioning of your body overall. The next one I wanted to mention is Acetyl-L-Carnitine, which is a form of the amino acid L-carnitine, and it has been found to improve mitochondrial activity. And as I mentioned earlier, our mitochondria is in charge of energy production. And when we're looking at really rapidly dividing cells, like your egg cells, energy production is very important. So having something that is going to support that process and make sure it runs, you know, more optimally or more smoothly is definitely, you know, a good thing. But it also has antioxidant activity. So not only is it helping with the energy production that's very necessary, but it's also helping to protect those ovarian or egg cells from any oxidation or any damage. So it kind of plays two key roles. And also for the men out there, it can also help to improve sperm motility, which is, you know, how well they are swimming, which is how well they're moving. So that is another one to consider. The last one I wanted to mention that is a very common fertility supplement. If you're researching them, you're probably going to see this come up a lot, and it is a good option, but it's more so targeted for certain populations of women. So let me explain. So what I wanted to mention is one called Inositol. So there are two forms of it that are studied the most: myo-inositol, which is what you often see in, you know, fertility supplements or just in the supplement version, but then also D-chiro-inositol. So it's actually a type of sugar, and it's present in cell membranes. So it's required for cell membranes, which is one function. We want to have nice, strong cell membranes. We want to have healthy cells, but also it is a huge mediator in your like insulin activity. So if you're someone who has insulin resistance, that means you're going to have higher levels of insulin in your bloodstream in order to get all the glucose that needs to get into your cells. You're gonna need more insulin to get the job done. Insulin resistance. So if you do have insulin resistance and you therefore have higher levels of insulin, this actually disrupts the really delicate balance of your hormones that are specifically necessary to trigger ovulation. This happens a lot with women with PCOS because insulin resistance tends to be one of the main like symptoms or the main characteristics, let's say, of PCOS. Now, inositol can actually help to lower blood sugar and excess insulin, so it's specifically kind of targeting this mechanism. There's also some research that shows that inositol can help with egg quality, which would be, you know, more of a general benefit. But from my research, everything that I saw mostly pointed to this is going to be specifically most helpful for women that have PCOS. Okay, you guys, so those are the specific key supplements that I wanted to point out for you guys that can be helpful for fertility. Now, most of these supplements, except for maybe inositol, can also be helpful for men as well. A couple of them I pointed out might, you know, benefit sperm motility or concentration, but you know, being on a high quality multivitamin, taking liver or beef organs, excess vitamin D, these are all things that men could also, you know, benefit from in general as well, but can help with fertility. I hope that you guys found this video helpful. If you are new to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe and join my little community here on YouTube. Please comment down below and let me know what videos you guys would like to see in the future, because I love your recommendations and suggestions, because I really want to make videos that you guys want to see, obviously. But that is all I have for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.